Welcome to the Solopreneur Academy podcast. This is a podcast for entrepreneurs who want to make more impact and income in less time. I'm your host, Megan, and throughout each episode, you'll learn how to create the lifestyle and legacy you want as you grow. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Solopreneur Academy podcast. Today, we are going to talk about how to deliver an excellent offer to a one-on-one coaching client. So in this episode, we're going to talk about, first and foremost, why doing one-on-one coaching is critical if you are thinking about creating a risk mitigated business. Then we're going to talk about how this fits into your business if you want to scale past six figures and why it's so important to have a strong one-on-one base before you create a group coaching offer. And then last but not least, I'm going to go through the 4 steps that I went through with my one-on-one clients to get the incredible deliverables that I did, and then also to show how valuable our offer was. So let's first and foremost talk about why one-on-one coaching is so incredibly important. When you are thinking about creating statistical inevitability that your business succeeds, the first thing you want to be doing is thinking about demand. Now, a lot of us just start coaching businesses or service-based businesses just because we kind of like doing it. And for me, that was definitely the case. I just liked being a coach. I wasn't thinking about creating a business for a specific group of people that had a problem that wanted to solve it. So for me, when I was just thinking about coaching, I was like, yeah, coaching makes my life better. I need to be sharing about this. And I wasn't necessarily thinking about a large group of the population that was ready to pay for my services. I just kind of started my business because I liked coaching, which if that is you, that is fine. And what happened is when I was building my business, when I was thinking about growing it, what happened is when I wasn't speaking about a specific problem, there wasn't a huge pile of people that were knocking down my door. So I didn't have the demand of a population in order to create a really sufficient income. So what I needed to do is I really needed to take a minute and think about how my offer was solving specific problems for people and then communicate that in my marketing so I could get more people DMing me about my offer, so I could have fruitful conversations about things that people actually cared about, and then also convert those conversations to consultations, have those consultations and be like, wow, this is going to be a bang for your buck. You're going to love it. It's going to be great. And then get those people to convert into paid clients. So I wasn't thinking about that. And if you weren't thinking about that when you started your business, that's totally fine. And you can always think about creating that really strong return on their investment. You can start to really think about the way that you're positioning your offer as something that saves people time, money, and energy. And then you can pivot. So it's totally fine if you just started a coaching business because you liked coaching, you got certified, it made a difference in your life, and you're like, now what? That is totally fine. However, when we think about creating demand, creating a group of the population that wants what you have to offer, what you need to do is you need to be keeping in mind that your marketing is probably not going to be great initially. You are probably not going to come out the gate. Even if I was talking with somebody the other week and they were like, yeah, I was a professional content creator. I grew my audience to 130,000 people. And even in that regard, even if you do know how to create content, creating content as a service-based business owner that sells a very specific offer that solves their problem is very different than just creating viral content, because you actually need to compel somebody to pay you, right? So even if you are a very experienced content connoisseur, you still do need to master marketing, and it takes a little bit, right? Like just like any skill, I think that when you look at like skill mastery, it takes 10,000 hours of dedicated work to develop a skill. I'm not saying 10,000 hours of just existing and having a business. I'm saying 10,000 hours of actually sitting down, writing copy, making videos, doing the actual work that it takes to market is what you need in order to actually become a master at marketing a service-based business to sell a service-based offer, right? So you are probably not going to be good at it right away. Think about it like skiing. This is one of my favorite examples. It's like you start skiing and you're like, oh, this is going to be so fun. And then you go through and you're like, oh, I'm going to fall a lot. I'm not going to be very good at this. It's not going to be polished and pretty and perfect. And then you have to just develop the risk tolerance and the ability to just mitigate your failure tolerance too. And then you develop grit and resilience, and then you get better and better as time goes on. So those are the things that you want to be keeping in mind when you're growing a service-based business, especially as a solopreneur, is that you're probably not very good at marketing. You're probably not knowing what to post every day on social media, which means that you, even if you've got a really awesome offer for people that want it, you're still going to need time to develop the skill set of marketing. Now, as you develop that skill, when you do one-on-one coaching, what it helps with is that you can take time, practice, and get better and better at your marketing. And that's important and why I want you guys to start with one-on-one coaching or one-on-one providing your service, because if you are able to do that, then you can focus on really taking time to get your marketing down right, to get your messaging ready, and actually creating a strong offer for these awesome people that you're inviting in. So, what I see a lot of times is when people are thinking about starting their businesses, if you go straight to starting a group, what happens is you don't have the marketing skill set. You've never done 10,000 hours of social media posting. So, what happens is you start marketing something that isn't maybe the greatest thing ever, and you have to overcome objections immediately. You have to overcome an objection of somebody joining you for an extended period of time, which you already have to do with one-on-one coaching. But then you also have to overcome creating a conducive environment for people to share vulnerably. And you've never done it before. You don't have any social proof or any proof of concept that what you do works. So if you just start right out the gate by doing group coaching, you have to overcome objections that, like, first and foremost, am I going to get results? And second off, you also have to overcome the shared vulnerability piece of things. The other thing is people have to be available. They have to actually be available at the time that you're offering the group coaching offer, unless you magically create all this intellectual property, which means educational videos and modules. And that is going to require, you can't be flexible. You can't work around their schedule. And so what happens is people immediately, if you start out the gate with something that's a group offer, people aren't going to trust you as much because you don't have the credibility, you don't have the intellectual property, and you can't be flexible and customize it for them and their needs. So it makes it really hard to market, and it makes it really hard to deliver, and it also makes it really hard to sell. The other thing that's also very important about why I think everyone should start out with a one-on-one offer initially as any service provider is when you're thinking about creating a really excellent business that brings you money and pays you, especially if you are someone that is like a stay-at-home mom that really doesn't have time, you have minimal hours to mess around. You can't go through and do a ton of lead generation and think about finding like aggressively finding a lot of people for your offer and bringing in people in droves. You have very limited hours and you've got very limited people that you want to be able to make the most of. And that's why I think having a one-on-one offer is very, very important. The other thing that's important about having a one-on-one offer is you get the golden three, the three things that you need to have a really stable and sustainable business are you need people to renew. So when like people are up with five-figure foundation, They're like, oh, I want to stay in it. When they're up for the Six-Figure Scaling Mastermind, they're like, I want to stay in here, and they join again. So instead of having to sell new people, which already don't know you, don't like you, don't trust you, you have to build that rapport over time. You have people that already know you. They already like you. They're like, I've paid you before. I feel safe with you in this container. I'm going to renew. The other thing is, then you get a pot of people. If you're getting them fantastic results as you deliver your one-on-one coaching or service providing, as it will be, you also create referrals. That is another huge backbone why it's a part of the golden three for retention is you want people telling other people about your business. One of the things that I found within this launch is that the second that people were joining, they were telling their friends and they were like, this is really great. You want to join in? And then their friends were joining, and that also helped me to develop my offer. But if you're not delivering a stellar offer initially, what happens is people aren't going to renew their friends. They might not refer and they might not renew themselves. The other thing is you need that proof. Those testimonials are everything. 89% of people need to see it to buy. And again, we're all about some statistical inevitability. We've got to make sure that your business is safe and it is set up to scale. And if you're doing that, you've got to get those testimonials. You've got to get people talking about your results that they're creating with you. And you've got to have that, and it's way easier to do one-on-one because you're talking with them every single week. So if you are thinking about getting testimonials from people every single week, your clients are going to experience some sort of breakthrough, and you can share about it anonymously. You can also talk with them and ask them to give you a testimonial that is written. You can ask them to come give you a video. You can ask them to come on live with you and do a video. There's so many ways that you can get people to convert. But the issue is right now, when you're thinking about delivering a business where you're getting results, if you do a group offer to start, what happens is you aren't able to talk with those people every week. Sometimes they share their wins, sometimes they don't. And then you are relying on those people to bring in those results that your clients get. You have to rely on them in order to get other people to have that trust factor with you, so other people sign up to work with you. So the golden three of client retention is referrals, renewals, and testimonials. And it's a lot easier to do with one-on-one coaching. Now, so that's the first piece. Why one-on-one? Why start with that? Oh, and the last part about sales, just to keep in mind, is that for a one-on-one offer, you can get your conversion rate up to 70 to 80%. Okay. So that means for every and this is just stats from Google about service-based business owners. Feel free to look it up. But it's 70 to 80%. You can get even higher. I think I had an 85% conversion rate at one point for a one-on-one offer. Again, because you can customize it to fit their needs. You can meet with them at any time they need. They don't have to share in front of other people, so they don't need to worry about being vulnerable. And those are things that make your conversion rate higher. If you are selling a group offer, that goes down from 70 to 80% to 30 to 50%. Okay. So for those of you that are thinking, and like what I thought at the beginning, I had this misconception that if I had a group offer, I was just going to be coaching for whatever time I had for the group coaching calls a week. And then I would just spend the rest of my time with marketing. I was like, perfect. This is great for having a family later. I can have that work-life balance. This is going to be great. And that is not the case. You have to spend way more time working on your marketing. You have to talk to way more people in order to sell the group. And usually you have to charge less because a group offer, and I say usually you can charge the same amount, but usually you haven't delivered a group offer before and you can't customize things as much. So you usually are charging less money for having to bring more people in. So let's say, as a one-on-one coach, you can charge like 6K for 6 months as an offer, right? For a group, If you want to make that same 6,000, let's say over the course and you run a 6-month group, you probably won't be charging 6K right out the gate for that group offer. You might charge something like 1K, 2K, 3K, right? So for every one-on-one client, you might have to bring in 3 group clients just to replace that amount of people coming in. The other thing is within your business, you need to be thinking about, okay, if my group offer is only going to convert at 30% and I'm converting sales calls at 70% right now, that means that in order for you to bring in one client, you need to do more consults. That's more time for you to talk to people and share about what you do in order for them to buy. So it's really, really important that you master that group coaching, you master that consult level. And then when you have a group offer, let's say you have a start and stop time that's very specific. That's what I recommend to my clients is I have them do open and close launches so they can have a really controlled group so they can monitor everyone really specifically. And we'll talk about the importance of doing that as a one-on-one coach in just a minute or a service provider. But when you're thinking about doing things as a one-on-one level, it's a lot easier for you to have touch points with your people versus doing a group where there might be a start and stop time. So then you have to overcome the objection. Well, I'm going on vacation. Oh, well, this doesn't actually fit in with our family's plans. And so then you have to overcome even more objections. So that's what makes the conversion rate, and I have to be vulnerable in front of a group of people. You have to overcome that too. So that's what creates that drastic drop in conversion rate. Even if you're like the best salesperson ever, it goes from 70 to 30%. And you want to be thinking about that to make your business really safe and easy to run so you can make money quickly and scale up. So that's the reasons behind doing one-on-one coaching. It's really, really, it's a safer bet because you need less people to make more money. And it's also easy to deliver. So you get that renewal, referral, and the testimonials that help you to grow and scale. So that's really, really important. The second thing I want to talk to you about in this podcast is why doing one-on-one actually sets you up really well to go into a group. So what I realized, and I told you guys, I've talked about this extensively, I'm sure, in the podcast, but definitely with my clients. And one of the things that no one ever broke out the journey to 7 figures for me like this. And I want to break it apart for you in case you are thinking about making a million with your business. So for me, when I was starting my business, people just said, okay, well, you have to wait until 6 figures in order to start a group. It's usually better if you get to 200K and then you can start a group. And there was no specification about like what kind of group, what I should be charging for the group, what time frame, anything. There was like nothing. And so for me, I was just like, well, I was a teacher. I want to work less hours because I want to have a kid. So it just makes sense for me to do a group eventually. So there wasn't any like sound reasoning why you want to do one-on-one if you want to make $1 million. And if that is you, I want to give you just my philosophy around it because I think it makes sense. And I needed somebody to explain it like this to me so that I would actually be like, oh, now I get why people say to do one-on-one to 6 figures. So here's the thing. Not only is it easier to deliver. It's easy just to run and maintain. You don't have to be perfect at marketing. You don't have to know how to do a group sales call. Nothing like that. It is a lot easier. But the other thing that's really important is when you're thinking about building your business up, you need to get credibility for what you do. If you are thinking about competing as a group, you need to be thinking about, okay, I have to have the best offer ever. And I need to be thinking about ways that I make that offer stand out against the competition. Because when you go into the group world, that means that other people are going to be offering a similar service to you, and you have to stand out and think about how am I different? What makes my service or coaching better than anything else that's in the market right now? And how can I get my clients these better, faster results so that people can see, oh, wow, instead of doing this other program that maybe has been around for 10 years, you want to be thinking about this is what makes me stand out. This is why people are getting really fast, great results with me, and you want to sign up to work with me. So, when we think about that scalability of your offer, when we think about you standing out in the industry, you need time to finesse your service and get that expertise out onto paper. You need to be thinking about how to actually get your clients really good results. And I want you, if you are thinking about going to to six, multiple six and seven figures, every single one of your one-on-one clients needs to be under a microscope. You need to be thinking about every single thing you could do to move them forward as fast as possible, and then create resources or intellectual property, like I talked about, to get them moving a lot faster. So for you guys, and again, I didn't have rationale when I was creating my business, and I set myself up not as successfully as I could have. I'm gonna still be successful, guys. I'm still hitting seven figures, but it could have been a lot easier because I wasn't analyzing my clients like a microscope. I wasn't thinking about how I was creating their results, making them even better and faster and stronger. And I had actually been transitioning from general life coaching to business coaching, and I created new resources that I was testing with my group in real time instead of taking one-on-one clients through different processes, different resources to get them results faster. So it took a little bit longer for people that were in my groups to get results. I also wasn't very clear about what my offer was, especially at the beginning. I called it literally the Business Fulfillment Mastermind. Who knows what that was about? And my gosh, I think I still have the pillars for it. It was so funny. Like looking back, I was just like looking around. I was like, what was I doing back in the day? But it's funny. It's funny to think about. So it was, what are your revenue goals? How do you feel about stress management and confidence running your business? What are your systems for time and finances? And how are you feeling about your future plan and ability to achieve your goals? It was a mess. And yet, still, I had nine people sign up for that first round, which was awesome. So it was good stuff, but it definitely needed to be refined and made better. So, within my business and within your business, when you're thinking if you do want to go to six, multiple six, and seven figures, the easiest, best way to do that is through one-on-one, especially to get your first six figures, because you can charge more as you get better as an expert. So when I first, and I'm a numbers girl, so I'm going to do some math for you. As a coach that was just starting out, I was told I couldn't charge less than $100 a session. So for me, that was really the way I was thinking about it. And for you, if that's how you want to think about it, I first started charging $100 a session, and I did 10 months. For you guys, I recommend honestly doing 24 sessions or 6 months consecutively back to back. Again, because first and foremost, biweekly coaching is a scheduling nightmare. What if you're out? What if they're out? Then you end up doubling up and you don't have the time to do that. So I wouldn't recommend that ever. And I also would recommend that when you're thinking about those 24 sessions, it gives you time to make sure they're getting results, gives people time to backslide, and then able kind of parameters for you to move them forward faster. So if you do that and you do $100 a session for 24 sessions, that's $2,400 for 6 months of coaching with you one-on-one. If you did that, and let's say you want to make six figures, it's very easy math. Even if you keep your offer at $2,400, that's around 40 clients a year. It's 42 divided by two. That's 20 to 21 clients a week. That's pretty doable. That would be mean that that gives you a little bit of extra time. Let's say you want to work while your kids are at school, which is the case for a lot of my clients. That still gives you, that's 30 hours that the kids are in school during the week. That still gives you 10 hours to do all of your marketing, all of your lead gen, all of your sales calls. That's extremely doable. But let's say you're like, I totally could charge more than $100 a session, and I want you to get there eventually with your coaching. And when you think about charging even more for that, let's say you get up to the point where you're like, you know what? I feel like I could charge like $5,000 for 6 months working with me. I'm seeing them getting incredible results. It's about $833 a month. Divide that by four, that's $200 a session. So it's not much more. But if you do that and you say you build up your confidence and your credibility, that's 20 clients a year. That would be 10 clients every 6 months. And that is extremely doable. Like if somebody were like, Megan, how do I get to six figures tomorrow? I'd be like, start a coaching offer at $2,400, 100 a session, build up credibility, increase your prices to like 5K for 6 months, and then sell that. And then you make six figures. But like it's very easy to scale and it's very easy to slowly increase your pricing. You never obviously, if you're talking about your pricing out in front of the other people, you need to make sure they actually get on a call so they know what the heck they're paying $5,000 for or even $2,400 for. Nobody just wants to spend $2,400 to have 6 months of hour-long coaching with you. You need to talk with them about the results that you would specifically get for their lives. So when you're thinking about it, it's just so easy and fast it's not even easy, it's very simple for you to get there very quickly to hit six figures with one-on-one coaching. Again, because you can charge a premium, you can customize it, you have a higher conversion for sales calls, and you need less people, right? So the reasoning behind why people are like, wait until you get to six figures to start a group is because then not only are you going through and you are just getting better at coaching, which is, or whatever service you provide, you're able to customize it, it's easier, and you're able to go through and create intellectual property. Like I mentioned, every single one of those people that you work with, they become your case study. You get kind of obsessed with them. And you're like, and that's how I feel about my group clients now. But like in every single facet of your business, you want to be very obsessed with your people. And you want to be like, okay, what is it that's getting them to take action? How can I get them to take that action faster to create the desired result that they want? And you analyze it and you learn and you figure out, okay, this is exactly what it's going to take for people to move forward. And when you do that, it creates this confidence within you because you're seeing them getting results and you're learning what stops people from getting results and you can fix it very quickly in real time. So that's really important. And then when you think about it, if you, let's say you keep it at that lower offer price point of $100 a session for 6 months, 2,400, that means that you have taken 42-ish people, again, emphasis on the ish, are going to be people that quit, start, stop. It'll be kind of all over the place. But 42 individual humans that you've had a chance to analyze like crazy, that you know what works for them, what could use improvement, and what they need to do differently. So then you've got a huge repertoire of experience and you've tested some other stuff to make sure that it sustains them, to make sure that it actually works for them long term. So you go through and you do that, and then you become an expert. And you are already an expert. If you've been certified, you've definitely had experience. Even just if you aren't certified, you have some sort of experience that's gotten yourself and others results. That's why you start this business in the first place. But then you get really good at that marketing angle too. You know how to move people forward in conversations. You get these sales converting. And then you have a base of intellectual property that you have then created to get people results. And then you can bring it into a group environment. And here's what I wish I had known, which nobody had told me that I wish I'm going to impart upon all of you. And I will tell this to you till the cows come home, is when you make a group offer, You want to start with the basics. You want to start with whatever you have for beginners. You do not want to start an advanced offer first. Learn from my mistakes. I wish I could just like say this. And I was on a consult with somebody and I was like, here's just my 2 cents. And it's very well researched as to why. When you are thinking about creating a group offer for any service, when you think about providing a service like coaching, people are typically learning a skill. They are learning some new way of being, some new way of doing and creating things. So with that, if that is the case, when we think about anyone trying to learn any skill from skiing to overcoming burnout, to nervous system regulation, to generating confidence, to getting a better result in their career, anything, there are going to be more people that are beginners than anything else in the world, right? If I'm thinking about the businesses, for me, the businesses that haven't made any money yet versus the businesses that have made money and are scaling to 6 figures, there's way more people who are at the start of their business. There's more of beginners than any other subset of the population for any offer ever. So if you start something for people who are more advanced, like what I did, because I started with the Six-Figure Scaling Mastermind, that was setting me up for failure because and not setting me up for failure because I'm not failing, I'm pivoting, but you got to sometimes fail on your face and learn. And that's what I'm imparting upon all of you is that you've got to learn from my mistakes. And if you don't, and you want to like do your own thing, you can learn and I will help you no matter what. Even if you're like, Megan, I want to start with this, I will help you no matter what. But when we think about creating statistical inevitability to scale to 7 figures, and because I'm going to be opening up the Six-Figure Scaling Mastermind soon, I want to give you guys my reasoning behind this, is you want to create a base of beginners. You want to have a large pot of people that are beginners, and then you can make another offer later. If I were to go back, my philosophy is now one-on-one coaching to 6 figures. Then when you hit 6 figures, start a low ticket, low investment group offer. You run that low ticket group for about 3 times, open and closed. And then you make it evergreen. When you think about what an evergreen group is, that means it's open and closed means like, let's say you've done one-on-one coaching for 6 months for a year. Then you go through and then you do a 6 month group. So you run 6 months, you get people results, you get testimonials, and then you close it up. Then you do another group for 6 months, get people results, close it up, do another group for 6 months, and then close it up. And you can open it and you can do what I do is I have a 12-month program. And so it gets people going and it keeps people getting results and it's open all the time. 5 Figure Foundation and 6 Figure Scaling are open at all times. And then I do launches to sell them. And I had to learn how to sell them one to many. But if you think about starting a group offer, it's a lot easier to charge something that is less expensive, which you would make for beginners. And there are going to be more people to sell it to. So it creates a better flow. Again, I wasn't taught this, so I wasn't thinking about it. And I want you guys to be thinking about this right now. Even if you've never made a dime and you're like, eventually, maybe I do want to hit multiple 6 and 7 figures. I want you guys thinking about this now because that's the kind of strategy and the business acumen that I didn't have. And that people were just saying, yeah, just make 6 figures. And I was like, that's not a good enough reason. So I started a group. And I don't want you to be in that situation where you have to backpedal. The other thing is when you're thinking about a group offer, I know people who have taken one offer to 1 million, and that's what a lot of people talk about is taking one offer to 1 million. Or you could do what I would recommend is do a mix of one-on-one in that low ticket group, have that go until 500K, bring in a ton of revenue, raise the prices for your one-on-one, get this huge pot of people that are beginners, and then you're going to start to realize that people are more advanced, and then you can create something for them as well. For that, and then for those 3 rounds that you run your group in a that you're doing the open and closed group for, you can just resign those people into the group again and say that they're going to like master this, go through the beginner skill set, more advanced, and then mastery. And that's how you can sell it for them. But for a lot of people, when they're thinking about their businesses, you can have that secondary offer be something like a maintenance offer, or you could create something that's like a very low ticket offer that could also be like they're either maintaining or they're going towards their next goal. So for me, with my business, it's like I made 5-figure foundation for you to make a one-on-one offer, create that maybe from scratch or just refine it, hit 10K. Then what after you've hit that first 10K, I don't want you waiting. I want you selling out the one-on-one offer and then eventually making a group offer that you can sell one to many, which is what we do in the Six-Figure Scaling Mastermind. So it goes one-on-one, make your first few sales, one-on-one, sell out and start a group. That's the way that I'm running my programs. It's two very, very different skill sets. You have to learn how to sell out, sell to a wait list, create an insane amount of demand, and learn how to sell one to many while you sell a one-on-one offer. And it's very true, like the way that six-figure scaling works, it just makes sense. It's a very clear delineation from 5-figure foundation, and it's just the natural progression of things. Now, there are people who are going to be like, I just want to continue making 10K. I never have any aspiration to hit 6 figures ever. And that's totally fine. And they can stay in that pod or they can move on if they want to hit 6 figures. So within your business, I would say it's just very much easier for you to go from one-on-one to sell out, raising your prices for your one-on-one. And what I would also do is I would not recommend having that group offer be anything more than 2,000, maybe up to 3,000, like 2,500, but you want to keep that low. You want to keep that as something that is extremely easy for people to invest, a no thought credit card swipe, and they can be in and on it. That's why 5-figure foundation currently is at $1,500 and it probably won't go past 2K. In my opinion, I want to keep it low as a very low bar minimum entry so that they learn, they get coached by me, they know me, they trust me, and then ascend. And that's the whole point of it. But that's if you guys are thinking about actually hitting 7 figures, that's the way that I would definitely recommend to all of you because it just makes your business so much easier to run. It also is you build up confidence. You can do one-on-one and group very, very easily, but that makes it something that is very tangible and easy to maintain. So that's my philosophy. Why not only one-on-one is just an easier offer to be selling, but it also sets you up to scale. And I want to talk to you about the last thing that I want to talk to you about in this podcast is what I did with my one-on-one clients to get them insane results. And one of the things that you might have never learned in certification. So I was on a call with one of the new members of 5-Figure Foundation. They wanted the 10K call because they were one of the first people to sign up. And she was talking to me and was like, okay, I have a very set protocol. Like for me, I had 6 coaching sessions that I got from the life coach school. And they were like, do this for these 6 sessions. But in order to also think about like bringing on the amount of people I would need to for 6 sessions, that would take be tons and tons of people. And it would also require for me to be reselling them pretty much constantly. I would have to have a constant flow of demand. And I also wouldn't, there left no room for wiggle room for any error. there was like you either get what you get in these 6 sessions or we're done. Like it was like this is it. So you want to be creating a very sustainable way that you're bringing people in. And I would recommend a longer coaching package. So I was talking with her about like doing 3 months. She was going from 6 sessions to 3 months. She's like, I just don't even know. I don't even know how I would run that. I don't even know what I would do. And I know that might be the case for you guys. You might be like, hey, Megan, I see that the math is mathing. We're seeing that 6 months or like a longer coaching package, it could be 3 months, but I think 6 months is just a good bet. But if you're like, what the heck am I going to do with a human for 24 sessions to make this coaching worth their while? Here's how I ran my sessions. And I'm actually including a delivery module in Five Figure Foundation and Six Figure Scaling. I already have it in Six Figure Scaling, but like I'm including one in Five Figure Foundation because I have found that just helps you to think about structuring these calls. So for you, if you're going to be doing 24 sessions with somebody, you want to make sure that every single session packs a punch. Now, you're not going to get eyes balling, life changing results every single week, but you want to be showing people that working with you gets results. They are going to improve and that you are going to give them things to move them forward every single week. So when I think about client delivery, I have 4 things that I do with my clients that when I coach people one-on-one that I think create a really, really strong structure for people to be like, oh my gosh, I'm getting insane, amazing results. You're never left with dead time to feel where you're like, they've grown so much, I don't even know what to talk about. There's always something. And it also creates this visual for like actually getting results. So for me, whenever I start a one-on-one coaching session, and I would highly recommend making your sessions 45 minutes, even if you're a yapper like me and want to stay on for the whole time, you want to really be careful and hold that boundary because for you, if let's say you're getting fully booked and you've got 20 clients that you're serving, and let's say you do 5 clients a day, Monday through Thursday, and then Friday's your business day. That's a situation I've seen for a lot of people. And let's say you get back from dropping the kids off at school around 8. So you could do a session from 8 to 9, 9 to 10, 10 to 11, 11 to 12, 12 to 1, 1 to 2, you've got a little break and then you go pick up the kids from school. Like that could be a situation for you. Or you could do 9 to 2 and then pick up with whatever situation works for you. But that means that you need to be eating lunch in a 15-minute chunk. You need to go to the bathroom in a 15-minute chunk. And you don't want to be going back to back to back with sessions because you'll get tired. Like, as a human being, even though I'm like a little Energizer bunny, I still need a moment for me to like emotionally reset and recharge in between sessions. So I would very much recommend doing 45 minutes per session and then having an hour-long block where you take a 15-minute break in between just to build up your stamina and just so you guys can see how that would look as a fully booked coach and or service provider. But within that, what do you do for those 45 minutes? What does that actually look like? So the way that I created this really awesome structure for my coaching sessions is I had 4 Google Docs. One is a Google Sheet. And I would utilize those to drive the sessions forward. I created intellectual property that I then tested out throughout the sessions. And my clients saw insane results and actually remembered their progress because of the way I tracked it. And I'm not going to give you guys the actual things. I give it to them, my clients and my programs, obviously. But if you are like, I need somebody to just tell me what to do in my coaching sessions or my service providing sessions because I feel like I'm just staring at them, this is a great place to start. And then if you, of course, join either of my programs, then you can get my actual resources. So the first thing I would do is I would start every session with an evaluation. The way I like to evaluate is I have people say 5 wins. I have them say what's working, what could use improvement, and what they want to do differently. That's how I evaluate. Now, let me give you my reasoning behind those 4 questions to start every coaching session. First and foremost, when you are even just a general life coach, the reason why people are coming to you is because they have problems. They have problems that they want to solve. And I encourage my clients to say every single week, write down a list of all the problems that you're experiencing, and then we'll address it on our coaching session. So when they come to you, they're going to be thinking about problems. They are going to be most likely, when you think about problems, you're not feeling like light as a feather, you're feeling stressed. So, what I do for my clients is I know that if their emotions are high, their intelligence is low. Physically, their nervous systems need to be a little bit more regulated in order for me to coach them effectively, get to a solution, and then have them propelling forward with momentum. So, for you guys, what you need to think about is how are you going to take a person and help them regulate and then also see you as the person that can get results. So when I start them with 5 wins, it's done so very strategically, like everything I do, because I know it takes 5 positive thoughts to replace every 1 negative thought. And if somebody is coming to me and they've got a list of 8 problems, I would need to have 40 positive thoughts in order to replace it for them to feel like evened out. So for me, at least starting with 5 wins really helps. It also creates a solution oriented mindset. So when my clients are coming to me, they're like until that first session, I give them an overview and I say, hey, we're going to start with an eval, open it up for coaching. Then we're going to have an implementation, breakthrough, and then your goal, your progress. So those are the 4 things I do is wins and eval, implementation or breakthrough, implementation, tracking. And that's what I would encourage you guys to do as well. So for you, when you're thinking about starting off somebody with wins, the first time they probably won't be able to think of anything because they haven't been trained to think of that. And what I do is I say, even if you can't come up with something that's a win, just think about something that you're grateful for. And it gets them to go from a problem focused to a solution oriented mindset, which is a skill set they can take with them for life, right? When we think about somebody investing with us, I don't want them to just leave and be feel better for like 6 months and then they drop off. I want them to have results for life. I want them to physically change as a human being, and that's what we're going to do. So, when you are thinking about your business, you start them off with those 5 wins, and then they're like, okay, I'm feeling a little bit better already. Then I ask those 3 questions for an evaluation. What is working for you to create all these awesome wins and celebrate them? Then I ask them, what could use improvement? I've heard this done with evaluations where people will say what isn't working, and whatever you look for, your brain is going to find. It's like an awesome tool that you can use. And what happens for a lot of people is you get really locked in on when you think about what isn't working, your brain is going to be thinking not working, not working, not working, not working. And then it gets into that emotional heightened state that it's a lot harder to coach somebody from. So then you want to think about what could use improvement because everything could always use improvement. And that reframes things in their mind to be like, oh, you know what? I'm seeing that this could be a little bit more like it's lighter. It's like, okay, yes, I could improve these things. This is something I would like to improve. And then they don't stress out as much about it. And that is what we coach on. Whatever they say they could use improvement on, or whatever problems they're bringing to me. Even as a generalist, I'd be like, just bring me all of your problems. Tell me everything that's going on in your life that is an issue right now, and let's fix it. Then the last part is what do you want to do differently? And you want to empower them to be thinking about, okay, what can we do differently? And then we coach. So, what I do with my clients is in my first session, because I am certified by the Life Coach School in the self coaching model, I go through and I explain that in the first session. And I actually talk them through a model. And I have an old podcast where I actually go through how to what the self-coaching model is and things like that. But I tell them in that first session, even if we're just going through something as simple as laundry, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And if we can shift the way you show up for laundry, something that seems like a minuscule, mediocre annoyance or nuisance in your life, it's going to shift the way you show up for a meeting with your boss, the way you show up for your relationship with your partner, as you show up as a parent. Every single thing changes because how you do one thing is how you do everything. And so then I coach them. And then in typical coaching sessions, I am just asking them whatever they have problems with. And typically we would do a model. But from there, I learned that in if I wanted to become the kind of person who had a scalable business, I needed to come up with intellectual property that actually moved my people forward. Things that could be tools, little resources, little things that I was doing that helped me in my life that I could test out with them. So what I did is I would give them some general coaching, and this is just again because I'm certified through the life coach school. I would just coach them on whatever came up, and we would do like a bunch of models, sometimes like up to like 5 models in every session, and then we would move them forward. So that's what happens. And I would say going through that wins and eval takes about like 5-ish minutes. You get through it pretty quickly, but then that gives you about 30 minutes to do coaching, just open coaching on whatever they need. And then and I'll talk to you about those next pieces. But for you guys, when you're thinking about facilitating a transformation for somebody with your service, you want to make sure that they have like that they're getting solutions during that 30 minutes that you're doing general coaching. And that means you can start to get creative and start to think about, okay, I notice that a lot of my clients have problems with boundaries. They are struggling. They aren't able to separate their work and life. They are struggling with setting boundaries that like with other people in their lives, whether that is friends, family, or significant others. I should probably create something on boundaries. And this could be based on podcasts that you listen to. This could be based on your own personal experiences. And the way I teach my clients when I'm talking about delivery is I'm thinking about for them, thinking about how they can go through and like encourage my clients to coach themselves as much as possible to always be living in their own breakthroughs and every single day thinking about, okay, it's like, what's a tool I could create to be more effective, more efficient, more productive? That's going to save if I can figure out how to do that just in my life, woo, awesome. Then I'm just like living an optimized life. But then that also can become intellectual property. And you're like, ooh, I can create a time audit. I had Monday hour one, which is the way I did my scheduling. I would teach my clients boundaries. I taught them how to do requests. I would create things as they came relevant to me and as they were relevant for other clients. And I was thinking about like, ooh, how could I say this in a new and interesting way? Are there journal prompts or like prompts that I could ask them on our coaching calls that I could utilize? I heard about the Eisenhower matrix and I created an implementation matrix where I talked about the time and energy and how you need to decide, delegate, and delete to make sure that you are optimizing and being more productive with your time. And as you go, especially with one-on-one clients, it's easier. You can test things with them and be like, hey, I know last week you were talking about how to be really productive within this hour of time and you feel like your to-do list is never ending. I created this implementation matrix. Let's try this week. And then you start thinking about all these other tools that you can utilize and that you can teach. The other fun thing is if you just decide to do one-on-one coaching or work service providing till the cows come home, until you decide that you don't want to have your business anymore, you can have those resources be things that you talk about in your social media marketing. And you can get other people mini transformations. You can provide them as freebies. You can create other things from it. So it creates this awesome like bank of intellectual property that you can then give to people. So that's a really fun part. The other thing is when you are testing out, again, a lot of times it'll just be open. Like, what do you want to talk about? Whatever they say for that could use improvement, you want to focus on. I also, when I first started coaching, and I do not mean to gender this in the slightest, but I noticed that like a lot of my clients who were identified as female would bring me lots of problems. And I noticed that my clients who identified as male would a lot of times be like, I'm feeling pretty good, feeling good. So I would have to be like, okay, what else could we do? I'm like, you know what we haven't talked about? How you feel about the month of February. Let's do a monthly eval. And I created a monthly eval worksheet about my pillars and I talked about what could use improvement in each of those areas. Then I'd be like, okay, well, where do you want to be by the end of this year? Then I created a 7 steps to goal achievement worksheet. Then I was like, okay, how can we take that goal achievement and break it down? And that's how I created my annual plan worksheet. And then I was like, okay, I need them to think big picture. Where do they want to be 5 years from now? And then I could help them make even bigger moves and even bigger transitions. And I created this whole 5 year plan. It's like a booklet that I have. And for me, it was really helpful to be able to be like, okay, if somebody comes and they're like, I'm feeling good this week, I had other tools in my toolbox that I could go through and still get them results every single week. From that, I had clients that were completing relationships and starting new ones. I had people that were changing completely what they wanted to do for their lives, their careers. I had people that were starting their own businesses that were like brick and mortar businesses. I had people that were moving across the country. I had people that were getting 40K pay raises. I had one 40K pay raise, two 35K pay raises, and no one that worked with me as far as their career got less than a 10K pay raise. That was, and they never got charged as a general career coach. I never charged more than 6K for coaching. So they all got an over delivered. And I felt like it was such an undercharge and over deliver. I was like, if you don't want to work with me, like this is going to sell like hotcakes. This just makes sense for you. You've got to jump in here. And it created a lot of confidence in me that what I was doing was working. And so that's what I would recommend for you is even as a one-on-one coach, still creating intellectual property, tools, resources, worksheets, anything that you can do to get your clients better, faster results. And then what I had my clients do is at the end of every single session, I would ask them for a breakthrough. I was like, at the end of this 45 minutes that we work together, every single time that we meet, every single week, I want this to be one of the most productive pieces of your week. And I want you to feel like you got something from it. So I want to know, what did you get from each session? And it's like, oh, I have more control of the time than I thought. I've been wasting more time than I ever imagined. My relationships don't have to define my confidence. I can I can choose to start a new relationship if I want to. I can have a healthy relationship with my parent. Like whatever it was, it's like I don't have to leave my husband. I mean, it was like things that were, I was like, I do want to leave my husband. Like these crazy breakthroughs that were happening. I wanted to have them documented. So I literally had a separate Google Doc, and each week I would put the wins. I would just copy and paste the eval, move it up, and be like, all right, this is like our session for 2-1, 2-8, 2-15, and I would just go through and I would list the wins and what was going on so they could have that forever. Then in another Google Doc, I had all their breakthroughs. So it would be like 2-1, 2-8, 2-15, etc. And they would just go through and list all the amazing things that they were like feeling and achieving within each session. And I was like, even if you're still feeling a little wonky, you got a little bit better in this session. So what is that breakthrough? Then, after they listed their breakthrough, I wanted them to have growth outside of the 45 minutes that we worked together. And so for you, I had another different Google Doc than there was a I called it a positivity document. That's the first one with the eval. Then the second document I had is a breakthrough document. Then I had an implementation document. So every week I said, what would you like to accomplish this week? What do you want to work towards? And I would have them list something. So whether we created a calendaring protocol and they would just implement it, and then we would know that most likely that beautiful plan that we created, breaking down their life minute by minute, was definitely not going to go as planned. And so then the next week we would talk through how to optimize it and figure out a way to make it even better. But within the implementation document, they would think about like one little thing they wanted to do to move the dial forward every single week. So in every session, all of my clients would get an implementation goal. They'd be thinking about where do they want to go? What do they want to do? What do they want to accomplish within the week? So that made the session go longer. It made the session feel like, oh my gosh, this is coaching is one of the most productive things I've ever done. I am saving so much time, money, and energy because not only am I getting results in the 45 minutes that I'm working with you, but I'm also getting these wins outside of the sessions that I can then bring back. And that's what I put in my positivity document. So that was the next thing that I would do. And then the last thing that you want to do is you want to make people see their progress. And for me, this was so important because I think that a lot of us, we forget how far we've come. It's recency bias, right? Like, so it's like we'll forget, oh, yeah, I used to be burnt out every single week. And now I totally overcame that because burnout is usually a feeling created by my thoughts, and I can change the way I think, or if I need to, I can change the circumstances if I want to, but I can change the way I think at any point. So I would have them track at the very end of the session, verbally live, not doing a form, nothing extra outside of the calls, other than maybe implementing what we had talked about. But I wanted to be like, hey, you don't have to do any work outside of it. I can give you podcasts and stuff to listen to. You can use these worksheets, of course. If you want to coach yourself and send it to me, you can. But I was like, I want this to be your most productive time. And then you just go and implement it. So for me, on the call, I would say, hey, it's 2-1. Here's how do you feel about burnout on a scale of 1 to 10? One being the worst, 10 being the best. And that's why these intangible pillars are such an important part, not just of your marketing, not just of your sales process, but of your delivery too, when you're thinking about your offer. And if you don't know what intangible pillars are, I explain it at length, but just so you can have like a little summary, is the way that I talk about service-based businesses is you need something that people can rank on a scale of 1 to 10. This is one of the reasons why. And you also want something that they are seeing progress and improvement with so that they associate you with creating that progress too. So I would have them rank their burnout, time management, confidence, work-life balance, and long-term plan on a scale of 1 to 10 at the end of every session. So it'd be like, okay, 2-1. All right, burnout, 2, time management, 3, confidence, 2, work-life balance, 1, long-term plan, 3. And I would have them go and actually rank those. And then I would say, what did we do in this session? Explain the self-coaching model. And then the next week it would be like, okay, let's go through Monday hour 1 and we would talk about it. And so at each session I had just like a like literally like 2 to 3 words about what we covered in the session on the far left-hand side. And this is the one that I had that was a spreadsheet. So I actually made this a spreadsheet and I would track it and I would just put their numbers in every week at the very end. And I wouldn't, if they were one of those people who was like, I need to elaborate, like, I know I went down and I was a 2, but I was like a 3 last week and I just want to tell you why. I would be like, nope, this is just a quick, just wrote, tell me what you are. And then we finish that up at the end. And those, the breakthrough implementation and the progress tracking, I would recommend doing towards like the last like 5 to 10-ish minutes of the call. Like it doesn't need to take that long. But then if you think about it, then you get the wins for the first 5 minutes, 30 minutes of coaching, and then 5 to 10 minutes of eval or of progress tracking, implementation, and breakthroughs. But then that covers your 45 minutes. It gets people progressing. And I actually would take those numbers that they did and I made it into a line graph. I do that for my masterminders right now. Their confidence with marketing, managing leads, selling, and planning. I have them rank it every week in the document that I actually give them their personalized Loom videos because all my clients get a Loom video every week because and I have them do the progress tracking during the first 10 minutes of the main call on Wednesdays from 10 to 10, 11 to 11:10. So that's something I kept up because I just saw how productive it was. And when people saw their progress, they were delighted. They were like, oh my God, I forgot. I used to be terrible at time management back in September. And now that it's February, look at me. It's like I am getting stuff done. I know how to commit and do these things. And it has been so helpful. And that was the kind of that's why the way I facilitated my one-on-one coaching was so insanely successful. It got such fast results because I knew we were working towards something every week. And if I was at a loss for something, if somebody was consistently ranking burnout at like a 2, I was like, we need to talk about burnout. Let's go in, and I would create resources that would customize and fit those clients' needs and even grow from there. But I just know for you guys, this is something that I literally did with one of my clients, and one of the new people from Five Figure Foundation, they were like, I've never had somebody explain how to run the sessions like this. This makes so much sense. And I was like, you know what? I should do a whole podcast episode about this. Obviously, I'm not going to give you everything and all my resources that will be in the portals if you decide to join us in either Five Figure Foundation to make your first or next 10K and Six-Figure Scaling, where you actually learn how to hit six and multiple six figures. But for you guys, I think this is such a great start. And if doing one-on-one coaching is something that has intimidated you in the past, if doing a longer package is something that's concerned you, if you didn't see how this fit into the big 10-year vision of your business, I hope this was so helpful in realizing how pivotal one-on-one coaching is, how it really sets you up with such a strong foundation to scale. And if you have any questions, we're going to include a worksheet about this that you can do, and you can fill it out like we do every single week. You will get there's a little form in the show notes, so make sure you fill it out. And if you have any questions, send me a message. Otherwise, happy coaching and or service providing for these next couple of weeks. And I will see you in the next episode of the Solopreneur Academy podcast.
Did you know that 89% of people need to see a testimonial in order to buy? Get my free testimonial template using the link in the show notes, and you'll see exactly how I used testimonials to market my business as it grew to 120K in my first year full-time and multiple six figures every year after that. Thank you so much again for listening, and I can't wait to see you on the next episode of the Solopreneur Academy podcast.